You are listening to the It's Your Time podcast, and I'm your host, Certified Life Coach Michelle Arnold Burke. In today's episode, I'm discussing the Empowered Mindset Blueprint: Motivation, Confidence, and Clarity in Action. Welcome to the It's Your Time podcast, the podcast where busy professionals like you get the practical solutions and support you need to gain control of your schedule so you can strive to be the best in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. If you're looking to increase your energy and decrease your stress, you are in the right place. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. How are you doing today? This is going to be a fun one. So let me just give you a little bit of background. I have had the opportunity to do a couple of speaking events, which has been so much fun. And so today I wanted to take a combination of some of the most recent activities that I've had and share them here with you in this episode. So today we are talking about what it really takes to live, to lead, and to sell with more clarity and less stress. You know, this is my jam. And we are going to talk about the Empowered Mindset Blueprint, specifically around motivation, confidence, and clarity. This just seemed to be the best way to take the combination of speaking events that I had and share them here with you. So today's episode is loaded. We are covering the truth about motivation and why I rarely feel it, to be completely honest, why purpose isn't found, it's chosen, and I'm going to touch on some insights from Adam Grant, the difference between urgent versus important, and I will share a little reminder from our recent interview with Joe Wishin when he talks about how high performers get it right. I'm going to talk a little bit about how confidence is built, and I want to touch on some of the insights from Dan Sullivan and Patrick Sweeney with that. Of course, you know I love any of the science that we can include in here, so I do want to touch on the science behind commitment and filtering focus, plus how to protect your most important resource, energy. And I want to talk again about one of my favorites, Molly Fletcher. And of course, I'll share some stories. We want to add in some of the science and real tools that you can start using today. And of course, I will be telling you how to get your free Priority Playbook, the new one, the sales edition, at the end. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's first talk about motivation. I want to suggest that we do not need to feel motivated to have an amazing life. We need to feel willing. And I will tell you, willing is an amazing emotion to set in action. So you know I love Peloton. I am always talking about it. But I have to say, rarely do I feel motivated to get working out. Mostly what I feel is willing to show up, willing to take the first step, and willing to remind myself how much better I always feel after I finish it. And I will tell you, as of this recording, I am on a 2,268-day streak of doing something Peloton. So there have been times, especially when Dad was sick, that maybe it was more like stretching and meditation. But I have chosen the identity, right? We talk a lot in this podcast about the importance of what your identity is, what your future identity is, and really starting to act as if now. So if I'm telling you I'm a Peloton addict, then I am going to show up every single day and be that Peloton addict, right? Motivation is not something that we need to wait for. Imagine if we sat around and always waited to feel motivated to create the dreams that we most desire. Oh my gosh, there'd be so many unanswered dreams. It's something, motivation, that you generate, I might even say, through movement, right? Taking action. And here's why. Your brain is wired for efficiency through the motivational triad, which is seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and being as efficient as possible. And so your brain's default setting is literally not to choose the hard thing. But when you take action anyway, you create progress. And progress triggers dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. And then that dopamine gives you the feeling of motivation. So it's action, progress, dopamine, motivation, more action. So if you're waiting to feel ready, stop waiting. Start with just a micro move. Cognitive behavioral science shows us that the smallest change in action shifts the the thought, feeling, action cycle. And a new action sparks a new thought, maybe something like, I did it. And that builds momentum. And just to drive this home, one study from the University of Chicago found that when people committed to doing just 10 minutes of a difficult task, 90% of them kept going for more than 30 minutes. Starting is everything. I will even use that little rule for working out when I really don't feel like it. I just suggest to myself that I will go downstairs and at least start with 10 minutes. And I have to tell you, just about every single time I keep going. Try it. Okay, let's move on to purpose. Purpose is built. It is not found. Purpose isn't something that is just going to come down and be like a lightning bolt and strike you. It's not something you stumble upon. It's something that you choose and you build over time. And purpose can change. Psychologist and author Adam Grant says that purpose evolves with experience. I truly believe this. I think our purpose changes as we evolve. So instead of chasing one perfect job or role, Adam Grant encourages people to focus on the contribution that you want to make. Your why isn't fixed. It can grow with you. And I believe that to my core. I think we all have seasons of life, and I think you get to decide what that purpose is in your specific season of life. And your brain supports this. I talk a lot about our reticular activating system. That is the cluster of neurons in your brainstem that acts as a filter. Sometimes I like to think of it back in the day, the bouncer at the bar. What is it going to let in? And once you declare what matters, like what your intention is, the RAS starts scanning your environment to bring that focus forward. It literally filters your reality to support your goals. Let me just give you a quick little example. I want you to take a look around. And I want you to see everything in your view that is yellow. Sometimes our brain will even take something that might be orange and tell us it's yellow. So all of the things that are yellow. Now, take a minute, write it down, and then I want you to think about what you saw that was pink. You don't get to look again, right? All of the pink things are there. They were there when I first asked you to ask for yellow. But the things you were focused on, you were looking for yellow. It's the same thing as when you buy a car, right? So maybe you buy a red car and then all of a sudden you see red cars all over the place. Not because the world changed, it's because your filter did. So when you choose your purpose, your brain goes to work helping you live it out. So ask yourself, what lights you up? When do you feel most energized? What kind of contribution do you want to make this season? I want you to declare it every single day and put your brain to work. Your brain will follow. Okay, let's move on to priorities. And I want to talk about the importance of strategic clarity over being busy. You do not have a time problem. You have a clarity problem. My girl Robin from Peloton says, when you say, I don't have time, you should in fact change that to, it doesn't matter. Kind of a bit to think about, right? If you're telling yourself you don't have time, change it. It just doesn't matter. And then own it. And if it doesn't matter, that is totally fine. But it also gives you that moment of pause to think, wait, maybe it does matter, and maybe I will find the time to get this done. We are trained to think that busy equals productive, but in reality, high performance requires discernment. And we recently had an interview with Joe Wishon, strategic execution expert, who told us that the most successful people and companies are those that are laser focused and focus on 3 priorities, right? They don't chase everything. And that really echoes what Greg McKeown's talks about in his book, Essentialism. It's a great book. He writes, you cannot overestimate the unimportance of practically everything. Let me read that again, right? You cannot overestimate the unimportance of practically everything. Cognitive overload, that is real. When your brain has to prioritize 20 things, it actually treats everything as equal. And that means that nothing gets the energy that it actually deserves. And here's a coaching question for you. If I could accomplish only one thing today that moves me toward my bigger goal, what would it be? This is how we quiet the noise. This is how we trade chaos for clarity. We need to get clear on what matters. And by the way, this is why I created the weekly priority planning page in the playbook, because writing down your focus activates the brain's executive function, and that increases your follow through by up to 42%. Okay, let's move on. I want to talk now about commitment. Because if we're talking about doing this work, right, what do we need to have? We need to have a sense of commitment, and that is a catalyst. And I want to pause for a moment because commitment deserves its own spotlight. Neuroscience shows that once we make a firm decision, our prefrontal cortex lights up. That's that executive part of our brain. That's the part of the brain that's responsible for logic, for planning, and for follow through. And the moment you decide, I'm doing this, you shift out of indecision and into motion. I will tell you, this is such a silly example, but for probably 3 to 4 weekends now, I've been saying I need to clean our windows. You know, it is getting nicer here in New York, so I should clean the windows. And then I never really make it a priority. I never put it on my calendar. And then the next weekend, I go through the same process. I should really clean the windows. Never do I put it actually on the calendar with a dedicated time, which I am always talking about here and how important it is. Can I tell you how much time I wasted telling myself week after week, I should really clean the windows? Versus, finally, this weekend, I put it on the calendar and I banged it out. I spent more time thinking in that indecision about how I should be doing it, not sure when, versus actually getting it done. How many things in life are you finding that you do that? Sitting in indecision can feel so overwhelming by itself. Once you make the decision, then you start to lighten the load of what is going on in your brain. It's also this idea of commitment, the first step that we talk about in Dan Sullivan's 4 C's of confidence. And so oftentimes we think that we need to have confidence before we take action. The truth is we need to have a commitment. He talks about first being committed to the goal, next having the courage to actually start taking action, right? Again, we are not waiting to feel motivated. We are going to have the courage to just start taking action. And as we take action, we build our capabilities. And as we build our capabilities, guess what jumps on board? Confidence. And you don't build confidence first. You commit. You show the courage, you gain the skills, and then you feel confident. If we truly believe that, how much more could we get done? I want you to stop waiting to feel motivated. And I want you to stop waiting to feel confident and just start having the courage to take action. And if you're afraid to commit, let's kind of bring back Patrick Sweeney's concept from Fear is Fuel. We had, I think it was episode 80, the author of Fear is Fuel, on the podcast. And he had some amazing information to share, especially around neuroscience. But what he talked about that I just love so much is that we do not have to jump when we're talking about having different thoughts. We do not have to jump from A to Z, right? It's just a move from A to not A. So it's a tiny shift from I'm not feeling confident to I'm not who I was. And that begins the transformation. So it's not like you have to go to rainbows, daisies, and butterflies and be like, I am the most successful, amazing, confident person ever. You just go to, you know what? I'm not who I used to be. I'm taking the step, right? And one believable step at a time. That's the thing. In fact, you cannot go from A to Z and not believe it. It just won't make a difference. You have to make the small shifts in order to believe it. And then you make the next step. Basically, what I like to think of these as being are ladder steps. And then let's even kind of close it out here with a quote from author John Maxwell. I was just kind of searching all the different quotes for this one. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the thing anyway because it matters. That's the key, right? Do the thing because it matters. And if you make it matter, you will make it happen. Okay, let's talk about energy, because that is your performance advantage. And I want to take a minute. I recently did a post about the importance of reframing self care. And I think it's so important because our energy is self care, right? Self care is not a luxury, it is a leadership strategy. And again, Molly Fletcher, I love her. She's a former sports agent, she's a speaker, she is amazing. She's a performance coach, and she teaches that energy, not time, is the true currency of elite performance. And she has a book. Well, she has multiple books, and she has a podcast. You should totally check her out. But she asks, what gives you energy? What drains you? And where do you recover? Because here's the truth. You can have a perfectly planned out calendar and still burn out if you're not managing your energy zones. And I often talk about this, right? Burnout is not something that happens to us because we're doing too many things that we love. Burnout happens because we are draining our energy. And here's one quick tip. Identify your peak energy window. So for many people, it's morning. For sure, for me, it is morning. Block that time for your most important work and build in micro recoveries. It's not like you have to sit and go take a nap, right? I'm just talking maybe about a 2-minute section of time where you just take some deep breaths. You just give yourself a mental reset. Or maybe it's as simple as like you're standing up and moving around a little bit. It matters. Why? Because regulating your nervous system helps restore access to your prefrontal cortex. Again, the executive planning part of your brain. That's the part of the brain that we need in order to make complex decisions. It helps with our emotional control and overall strategy. Burnout is not a badge of honor. Busy is not a badge of honor. Energy alignment, that is your edge. Okay, listen, friend, I want to wrap it up here, and I want to talk again a little bit about the Priority Playbook because I think it's going to help bring it all together. Motivation, as a reminder, follows action. Purpose is built through clarity. Priorities require focus. Commitment unlocks your confidence. And energy management is your performance amplifier. And if you want to put this all into practice, I got you. This is what I have put together in the Priority Playbook, the new one, the sales edition, and it is totally free. You go check it out at michelleburtcoaching.com/playbook. Inside, you will get a morning setup page so that can help you to prime your mindset to get your RAS going. There is a confidence tracker that is rooted in cognitive behavioral tools. There is a weekly priority planner based on the ideas around essentialism. There's also a daily debrief to help you learn and to reset and to rewire. And they are simple tools. You do not have to do them all at once. I have it set up that you pick a section and you build one skill at a time. And I will tell you, when we do that, it is like a meta skill because how we do one thing in life is how we do many things. So if you just get started, you will be amazed. They are simple tools. They are science-backed. They are designed for ambitious women in sales who want to sell more, who want less stress, and who want to show up with intention. So again, grab your copy, michelleburtcoaching.com/playbook. Listen, your goals and you are worth it. Peace of mind is worth it, right? And of course, it's always your time to take action this week. Okay, friends, that's what I have for you this week. Let's meet back here next week. But for now, make it a great day. Take care. Did you know you can take this work to a deeper level with me one-on-one? Go to michelleburtcoaching.com and click on Get Started to begin.